What's cracking with y'all? It's your boy Prince the Hustle Guy, aka Wise the Warlock, and we reaching in our combat tool bag one more again. It is a cold black affair. Shout out to the mighty LDBC, LDBC only, LDBC or nothing, LDBC everywhere, LDBC versus everybody. Do me a favor, family. Subscribe, follow, support everything LDBC, Trilitary, TWT, Simple Truth Network. Check out my other two channels, HFO Church and Acting Right TV. Support my OGs, Kano Loco, that's OG Loco to me, and OG K Hogue, aka Black Fight Fan TV. Shop Usual Suspects, shopusualsuspects6.com. Support the usual suspects and support my little brother Black Sun, the 9-4 Sun God. That said, there's three ways you can support this channel. One, go into shopusualsuspect6.com, shopusualsuspect6.com, and get you some combat tool bag merch. And that's a way of sponsoring your favorite fighter and supporting the build and the movement here. I have a series of books. You can go in the description to this video after I'm done live. I'm not sure how to do it before yet, but after I'm done live, the description will be in the video um, of the Hustle God series, or you could type it in Amazon.com, Hustle God series, or Michelangelo Turner um, on Amazon, and you'll find a series of books, four of them, if not five. The fifth will be all four in one, but you'll see the language of the 1%. That's the Hustle God's linguistics of money. You'll see Hustle God masterpiece, daily golden mind molding. You'll see Hustle God's Afro Gold Part 1, and you'll see Hustle God Art of the Hustle. Um, and lastly, the final way to support the channel is uh, to sponsor your favorite fighter via donating to the Cash App. You can donate to the Cash App while we're live, when we're not live, anytime combat toolbag pops in your mind. You can donate and support the movement at Hustle God Inc. That's Cashtag Hustle God Inc. Money sign Hustle God Inc. All of the information for the ways to support the channel will be in the description. That said, um, we have to cover this weekend's events that transpired. Before we do so, just give you a quick update. Camp has been going well. Um, Always a bunch of hoops and litigation and extra BS to jump through when it comes to um, making a fight, as far as paperwork and pleas and commissions and stuff like that. But things are going well. They're coming along. Um, I feel great. Um, Me and KG are really coming along in our journey together, as well as OG Loco. He's doing, obviously learning a lot in the process, but doing so very well, and handling me. And yeah. So that said, I feel like just in a quick touching on the update of November 23rd um, in Erie, PA, at the Bayfront Convention Center, the Bayfront Brawl. Yeah, I'm feeling great. Training camp's going great. Again, expect to see a day and night difference between the Michelangelo you see November 23rd. That's the eve of Thanksgiving. Than the one you see in August 13th. But that said, this weekend, Saturday, we had a big a big weekend of fights. This video will only be covering the top rank cards. Those are the only cards I managed to see this Saturday, and obviously while still training. Um, the Tiger Johnson, well, essentially the Lomachenko versus Ortiz card. Um, and as I stated in Boxing and Breakfast, episode 11, and I did miss that aspect, excuse me. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Boxing and Breakfast, aka Breakfast with the Champ, um, at LDBC East Show. Um, have a little bit of battle with your breakfast, pull up to the table, pull up to the table, have a little bit of battle with your breakfast. Um, but yeah, so I stated in my episode 11, the last episode that came out before today, that these performances will be overshadowed because Lomachenko's fighting. And no one could necessarily predict that it was going to be controversial, but I knew it was going to be, you heard it here first, that it was going to be overshadowed by Lomachenko's performance. So let's review some of the prospects. So one of the prospects, I will admittedly say, um, it was no intention, and even still isn't my intention, just because I can't remember the guy's name. I managed to miss his fight, but he was also on the card with all of these great young prospects, and he's a great young prospect himself. But I do feel it's a little unfair of me because I didn't see his performance to rate all of the rest of the prospects' performance. But in the last episode, I already started to do so. Stephen L. the Mac family, welcome, welcome. Have a little bit of battle with your breakfast. This is Boxing and Breakfast, aka Breakfast with the Champ. We just reviewing the fights of this weekend on the top rank card, not the rest of them. So, do you? By the way, do you know the kid's name who fought? I forgot the kid's name who fought. He's a lightweight. Everyone's talking about him. I can't remember his name. Uh, every time I think of his name, Oshaki Foster's name pop in, and Oshaki Foster's 130, so it's not him. But moving forward, if someone could figure out that name for me, leave it in the comment section. Um, but yeah, so I'll go in the order of that I had it written down, not in the order that the actual card went in. But Tiger Johnson, uh, very smart of him to come out in his costume of the Black Spider-Man. I liked him even more just because he did that, and that in itself showed to me a sense of awareness of what his best attributes are. His best attributes are technique and his reaction time, um, and accuracy. And when you think of Spider-Man, obviously you think of him shooting webs or swinging from webs, but one of his gimmicks or go-to is accuracy. Him shooting people in the face with his webs, blinding them, or shooting them in the mouth with the webs, covering their mouths and stopping them talking. He does that. That, in his way, is his jab, his way of controlling range, his way of controlling the opponent's output. He did that extremely well in this fight, uh, and his reaction time is his count, if you will. His spidey sense would be his counters in that aspect, and his ability to counter, his timing, his sharpness, uh, his accuracy with that, uh, his speed, very on point, very on point. I like Tiger Johnson, Delonte Tiger Johnson, very, very impressive. I must also say, I don't think he was one of the ones who I thought was gonna impress me or win the perfect prospect friendly competition. But I think because I thought Troy Isley and Rbc Ramirez would, and in my opinion, it was close because Troy Isley and Rbc Ramirez almost did. But I would say definitely Delonte Tiger Johnson proved to me the most, one of the most of the actually, he proved to me the most of the young prospects. he proved to have, I guess, the best performance of them all, um, because of how clean and decisive there was no confusion about who was controlling the fight, who was the ring general, who was landing the best punches. Even when his opponent adapted and switched up his game plan, Tiger, though it took him a little minute to adjust, he still adjusted. He still found a way to control his opponent. 1 second, guys. And he controlled him with the straight shots, and he controlled him with making him pay every time he tried to bombard him or come in. Uh, the adjustment that his opponent made, initially he tried to box him at distance and try to get rough at distance, and that failed round after round. So he resorted to the high guard and to try to come to the inside and go volume. He says, "Screw the jab, screw boxing. I gotta fight this guy and sell out, if you will." And again, though it took Tiger a minute to adjust, he adjusted and got him back to the end of his punches, and in a way that such a young fighter, for him to be able to do it, shows his boxing IQ. It shows him understanding his best attributes and fighting his fight as opposed to the opponent's fight. Um, but moving on, we got Duke Reagan. So Duke Reagan, I think on paper he had the steepest step up, according to the top ranked matchmakers. Um, I, I'm, it's the same thing I said before. Now in episode 11, I was saying that Duke Reagan has been consistent with giving essentially flawed performances or inconsistent performances. Now they said he's only lost, I think, one round before, or something like that. But that still doesn't mean that he's fighting to his best attributes. That doesn't mean that I seen this guy control people and not get hit at all and completely destroy them. But this wasn't how he's been performing as a professional. As a professional, he's managed to make, though he's been edging out the majority of his rounds, he's managed to make them competitive rounds nonetheless. Um, in this fight against LeBron, I it was another. It was essentially backing up my point about my point about what I was saying about his essentially him fighting to the level of his competition. He can't set himself apart, not yet at least, as decisively as the Shakur Stevensons, as the Devin Haney's. And granted, they're not in comparison to these prospects, but when they were prospects, they clearly set themselves apart, where it made the matchmaking look bad because of how good they were compared to their opponents. And it's like every time I see Duke Ray fight, to me it looks like an even fight, but on paper it's not at all. So though this was one of the steeper step ups, LeBron was landing essentially at will on Duke Reagan. Duke Reagan, yes, because of his defensive actions, his defensive instincts, he was able to control the output, meaning LeBron wasn't able to just tee off on him and hurt him back to back. But Duke got hurt a couple times in this fight, and if it wasn't for his defensive responsibility, he would have lost this fight. So, flawless mentality, welcome, welcome, welcome. Have a little bit of battle with your breakfast. This is Boxing and Breakfast, aka Breakfast with the Champ. Pull up to the table, pull up to the table. Thank you for stopping by. Appreciate your support. Yeah, so Duke Reagan, he's much better, again, than he's been able to display under them lights. And it could be him just adjusting to the lights. Um, Queen Tay Tay, the sweetest voice on the net, goddess. Welcome to Boxing and Breakfast, aka Breakfast with the Champ. Pull up to the table, have a little bit of beer with your breakfast. Thank you for stopping by. Appreciate your support. You make sure you have a wonderful day, Queen. Um, yeah, so Duke Reagan again. He's far better than he's been able to display under the lights, and I think it could be him just adjusting to being under the lights, because you see it in his face as a young man, or at least I can recognize that he's putting on an air of this is familiar to him, or he's relaxed, or he's calm under the lights. Yes, he's familiar to fighting at a high level, but I still think he's still adjusting to these new cameras. He's adjusting to his opponents um, coming with a professional style and not an amateur style. I still think he's adjusting to the close-ups of even when he's making a miss, when he's getting hit with shots, grazing shots, or he's getting hit on his guard, and he has a um, un, unfa- unfavorable reaction. Um, I think overall he's managed to again give uh, like a struggle performance. His performance was that of, yes, my opponent is tough, but again, I still think technically he's a far better fighter, and or far better boxer to be more specific. The LeBron he fought proved that he's a competitive, or at least an equal level fighter, if you get the difference. Um, but Duke Reagan definitely, the way he performed last night was one of the reasons I felt he wouldn't be one of the top competitive performing prospects on that card. PGH Big Dog, welcome to Boxing and Breakfast. Have a little bit of battle with your breakfast. Pull up to the table. Um, this is a replay friendly live, aka Breakfast with the Champ. Thank you for stopping by, and I appreciate your support, brother. Um, yeah, so just to conclude, Duke Reagan had another underwhelming performance. Very competitive fight, one of the steeper step ups, but still wasn't able to clearly set himself apart from his competition. Uh, yeah, so that said, moving forward, uh, Troy Isley. Troy Isley had a step up. All of these guys had step ups, so that's the chorus of the night. But Troy Isley, he had a step up opponent in which he couldn't just floor him and get him out of there, which was what we needed to see him with, which was what I was asking for in the last um, episode. And in that, I felt he would possibly win Perfect Prospect, or one of the top prospects in their friendly competition of the night. Why? Because we would be able to see him display his boxing a lot more. And that's exactly what I got from him. The issue was it still didn't do it for me. Um, he showed he was able to box. I liked what I seen. That was the type of opponent he needed, an opponent who was going to fight him, who was going to be tough, who was going to be rough and rugged. And he almost got uh, him and Ldbc almost edged it out, but for me it was Ldbc and Tiger that edged it out as far as best performances of the prospects. But he almost got in there because his inside game was a beauty to watch. Him picking them diaphragm shots, the spleen shots, the liver shots, coming through the guard, coming around the guard, shooting uppercuts up to the nose, to the jaw, coming around the guard with his hooks and his overhands to the temples. Um, it was a beauty. It was a sight to see. And then for the guy to fight, to try to make it tooth and nail and just be throwing back, it was it was very beautiful to watch. Clearly, why he was winning is because he was the more the more accurate of the two. They were both very busy and both very strong. You could feel their shots through whatever medium you were watching them. Ashley's Corner Queen, welcome, welcome, welcome. That's the first lady of boxing, the first lady of boxing channel on that net. Um, so, welcome to Boxing and Breakfast, aka Breakfast with the Champ. Have a little bit of battle with your breakfast. Pull up to the table. I appreciate your support, and make sure you have a wonderful day. Um, yeah, so Troy Isley, by the way, guys, I'm recapping. This is a replay friendly live. We stay for a short time, 45 minutes or less when I'm by myself. If I got a co host or guest host, special guest host, we'll go a little bit longer, but I'm always keep it short because I want it to be replay friendly. Uh, I'm just recapping the fights, top ranks cards, or top ranks fights on their card Saturday. So Troy Isley, I loved what I seen from the inside work of him. My issue, I didn't see enough um, on the outside from him. Outside uh, control at distance, at long range. He's already proven to be a dynamite puncher. We got that from him. He's proven to be solid on the mid range, which is difficult to be solid in because in the mid range you can land virtually all of your punches, all six of your punches, and your opponent can land all six of their punches. But he's very explosive at that range, which makes people tend to not want to roll them dice. But his opponent wanted to roll the dice today and made it a competitive affair, and or that night. And Troy Isley, he impressed me and did an amazing job. I think, amongst all of the prospects that I'll mention and that I mentioned, I think again Tiger and Ldbc did it for me. Um, if I was to remove Ldbc, it would be Troy Isley and Tiger Johnson because of the ability to box that he showed. Um, the major flaw, obviously, that I've been beating around the bush to say with that performance, besides it being such a stacked prospect field card, was that he was looking up at the clock. He was gassed. We seen he was tired. What impressed me the most was the ability to work through it, to throw punches through it, to dig deep in the close range, even through the fact that he was gasping, his mouth was wide open, and he was looking at the clock multiple times. But that's a that's something he'll look back on this fight and be like, damn, if I had uh, uh, more of a veteran opponent, they would have caught on to that and they would have pressed me even more. Um, but again, great performances from these young prospects. Um, just in case you guys didn't notice, I did not mention at all um, Creamy Ali uh, as the queen. Ashley's corner with a, and I won't mention him, but I just wanted you to notice that I didn't. Um, Ashley's corner said, "I like Zepeda JoJo. It was highly entertaining. I got to go back and watch it. I wanted to watch it. It was just with training and in this top rank card. I was like, I got to see these prospects fight, but I'm gonna definitely make sure I go back and watch that because I still had, just like your video, I had Zepeda winning that fight in my prediction, and I had push-ups. I was on team knockout. Basically, we had push-ups on Zepeda winning. So I ain't heard nobody talking shit. So I definitely figure Zepeda got the victory. But JoJo, he never has a boring fight. So I definitely can appreciate him for his efforts, and I look forward to seeing that fight. But yeah, so moving forward to the final prospect that I was able to see. Oh, and Queen, you're here. Both of the queens are here. I I posed a question earlier about the other prospect I'm forgetting, not Creamy Ali, but every time I think of his name, Oshaki Foster's name pop in my head, but that's 130, and I'm thinking 135. He fought on the top rank card, I think before all of these guys, before Tiger, Rabisi, Troy Isley, and Duke Reagan. But if you guys remember his name, leave it in the comment section for me, or thank you, Queen. Ashley's Corner on it, like not a second later. Abdullah Mason. I will make sure I go back and watch his fight. I feel I'm being unfair. I stated earlier in the live that I feel I'm being unfair as far as rating the prospects, the perfect prospect of the night, and not seeing his fight. But I was so late to the card. Actually, your show was on. I was watching your show. I just wasn't able to get in the chat because I was also training at the time too. So there was a number of things that were going on that I was like, I was late to the card to see, and another reason why I obviously couldn't see those other cards. But yeah, Abdullah Mason. I'll make sure I go back and watch his fight. And thank you again, Queen. And Abdullah Mason, guys. Abdullah Mason is the name I forgot earlier. Abdullah Mason is the other prospect I will check out. And on the next episode, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I'm here early morning to wake y'all up with some breakfast and boxing. I will have something to say about that fight. Uh, but so Rabisi Ramirez, I called it. I said he would have one of the more impressive fights of the night. Rabisi Ramirez. Let's talk about the downside of his performance first, because Rabisi Ramirez, uh, the train, is a spectacular fighter. So Rabisi Ramirez is a Olympic gold medalist. He's from Cuba. I got it confused last time. You know how you have fatigue brain after working out. I was thinking of how the aesthetic of the Cuban flag and the Puerto Rican flag, and I said he might have been Puerto Rican, but he's Cuban. Uh, he's the kid who beat Shakur, and that's how they're selling him. But I love his style. He's trained by Ismail Salas. Anybody who knows me knows I love a counter puncher, and knows I love the catch and shoot style. And for those who aren't familiar with the catch and shoot style, it's essentially defensively first. Well, first defensively is always your feet. Then you got your head movement, and then you got your hands. But in the catch and shoot style, you catch, parry, and block, and fire back. Hence the name catch and shoot. But that said, he's mastered that catch and shoot style, or at least Ishmael Salas. That's the style that he teaches exclusively, like Derek James, which a lot of people refer to as that Texas lean. Um, that catch and shoot style to me is aesthetically one of like the best styles in boxing. Um, and when you see Rabisi use it, he uses it with the element of like water as opposed to steel, because a lot of people think with the catch and shoot style, you naturally just don't gotta move your head, or you could just bulldoze someone Terminator style, and that's how a lot of people use it. If you look at how Sabril Matias uses it, he uses it in a Terminator-esque style where he'll essentially walk you down or stand right in front of you and just fire back. And a lot of people would view it as on the surface level as a rock'em sock'em robot style, but if you're using it properly, it's not I hit, you hit, I hit. It's hit and make you miss, except make you miss via contact of the wrong target. Um, so, not to beat around the bush, if we talk about the downside of Rabisi in this fight, he was left hand dominant in this fight. He was leading with his rear hand, and it was because of the fact that he was forcing the knockout. He was coming off of that Abraham Nova knockout, and in which he was very creative in his approach, but he highlighted his and emphasized. Let's use the word emphasized his left hand, and to that he sent Abraham Nova to the nether realm, basically. But in this fight, because he was highlighting it and emphasizing it, 1 second, that's the style Rolly is trying to do, catch and shoot. Queen Ashley, you're hilarious. Rolly, if Rolly's trying to do the catch and shoot style, he's doing it with his face. He's catching with his face and firing back with sound effects, with the duck quack and the my and Iorga combinations. But yeah, sorry, you threw me with that one. Yeah, so talking about the downside of Rabisi, because he emphasized that left hand so much, his opponent, and this being also a step up as well, which didn't look like much of a step up aesthetically, really. I mean, Super Abraham Nova really looked like the step up, and this looked like a light touch before another step up. Really looks like he's trying to fight like Rabisi. Hey, I feel like Rolly look like to me Rolly he's trying to obviously everyone who comes out of the Mayweather gym they try to fight a little bit like Mayweather, but his comes out as if he's trying to fight like AB with the power of Tank, or I don't know. I don't want to disrespect anybody by saying Rolly's trying to fight like them, because how Rolly's shoulder roll is not a shoulder roll, and his high guard isn't high guard even when he's in high guard, and then his the way he's defensively, whoever taught him his defensive actions or like was out of pocket, like deserves the fair one with Deontay Wilder. Like whoever taught him defensive moves, like his slip and his rolling, catching and shooting, deserves to be slapped or punched by Deontay Wilder. Put it like that. But yeah. So because he was highlighting his and emphasizing his left hand so much, um, his opponent caught on to it, and it's the punches that you don't see that clip you, that hurt you the most, that rattle your brain because there's no anticipation, there's no time to brace, there's no time to uh, when your body when your eyes see something, there's a psychophysical communication that happens. It'll see it, it send a signal to your brain, and then there's, because of your instincts being resculpted and remolded and trained, it sends a signal to your body to react in a different manner than obviously the fight or flight. Not in a nutshell, fight or flight, running or just banging. It sends a, a bunch of different options for you to react to, and especially at the highest level. And when you see that left hand, there's a bevy of options that pops in a boxer's mind, um, or a rear hand in general. I can get up underneath it. I can pull back from it. Um, I can catch it. I can parry it, and that's just the defensive action. There's a number of different counters that I can come with, high and low. Um, I can even just take a step back and walk off. There's a number of different things I can do. 1 second, guys. Everyone that's met Floyd likes to use that shoulder roll. Sadly, it's so true, Queen. I honestly much rather see more people attempt to use the cross guard than a shoulder roll, because for the the amount of exposure that is left there with the shoulder roll, if improperly done, you're further like you're more open using the shoulder roll improperly than you are using the cross guard improperly. Because if you use the cross guard properly, you're safe, and a lot safer in a simpler sense to process for the fighter than it is for a fighter at that same level to process their safety in the shoulder roll, because it takes a very high IQ to process the angles of a shoulder roll. Most people don't get the rear lean that it takes to apply the shoulder roll, and the rear lean is how you catch the shots with the shoulder. When you look at AB's shoulder roll, for instance, AB's his lead shoulder isn't raised, and and a lot of times he doesn't even do the lean to catch it with his shoulder and pulling back, he'll literally pull straight back with his shoulder down. That's no shoulder roll at all. That's just a low lead hand. So a lot of these guys, if they're going to use the shoulder roll, they need to study Georgie Benton and not just look at when Floyd is relaxed, because a lot of them were emulating when Floyd is relaxed. But yeah, so R- R- Rabisi Ramirez, the reason he won, that is I guess a bit of a bias because I follow him. I like Rabisi Ramirez, but he was landing that left. Though he emphasized it, though the guy saw it coming, there was still nothing he could do about it, which was bad because it showed um, the uh, the lack of competitiveness in the matchmaking, the lack of faith they had in Rabisi via the matchmaking, and also the lack of ability to mount an offense from the opponent. But from what we got, Rabisi gave us some excitement for a Lomachenko card, which is rare. I mean, I don't want to say which is rare. I don't want to always say Loma gives us boring performances or anything like that, but he gave us a knockout on a Lomachenko card, and that's more rare than I guess I would say the excitement. But yeah, so the flaw, he wasn't throwing enough jabs. He wasn't mixing in his his right hook. He has a solid right hook. Um, if you look at Rabisi Ramirez's actual agility, he's a lot more agile than he displayed. He just walked the guy down and fired the left over and over again. And again, though he forced the uh, the left, he also forced the action. The opponent wasn't trying to step to him even before he sat on the left, and he still gave us the knockout. One of the knockouts we were looking for, because a lot of people were looking for a knockout from Troy Esley. Again, I was not, but yeah, he gave us one of the rare knockouts and one of the few, if not the only knockout of the night, if I'm not mistaken. So, with the last little bit of time that I'll be on here, I do want to talk a little bit about Loma Ortiz. Uh, I'm not the biggest Lomachenko fan in the world. It's a cool black affair over here. Always was, always will be. And but I love excellent boxing, and even in this fight, I just wasn't really able to like maintain like hyper focus for this fight. I, I, I didn't care about either of the guys in the ring. Like I didn't care to see. I didn't care what the outcome was. Like so, in watching it, it looked pretty even the first time around watching it. I did see Jermaine Ortiz uh, getting loose, and I think in my scoring of it, whenever I first watched it, though it was pretty even, I felt like Jermaine edged it. But then in rewatching it, I was like, man, this is kind of even. But still, I felt like Jermaine edged it. But in my review of the fight, or in my take of the fight, it was a competitive fight. It was a Lomachenko fight, I guess. But I seen a lot of either rust or age catching up with Lomachenko. I didn't see the angles be as effective. I didn't see um, the extremely high boxing IQ to separate himself from the his opponent. I didn't see a clear victory from Lomachenko at all. He kind of, and this, I don't mean this in an offensive way at all. I just mean this like to give an image. He gave me like just aggressive white boy vibes, like like somebody who wouldn't give up, like a Viking, like somebody who wouldn't give up, somebody who was going to fight back. But it was a tooth and nail fight with a sparring partner, and I don't mean to use that in a sense of demeaning Jermaine Ortiz. It's just, it seemed like just a week ago they were on Deontay Wilder for fighting Robert Helenius. Oh, that's a sparring partner. That's a sparring partner. He ain't shit. He ain't shit. And now when Lomachenko is fighting his sparring partner, there's no mention of the the word he ain't shit, or why is he just fighting a sparring partner. No, they're even in the commentary saying in sparring, in the little time they sparred together, he was preparing him for Richard Commey, so he never seen the true extent of who Jermaine Ortiz is, or he never seen the whole Jermaine Ortiz. Uh, so I found that pretty funny, the double standard in between opponents of Lomachenko and Deontay Wilder. Do we need to do we even need to mention Canelo, Avni Yildirim, or um, Canelo Triple G? They both sparred each other as well. So it's like, yeah, that makes that point null and void. And then we have, again, I didn't really care for the fight. I do think Jermaine Ortiz edged it out. I do kind of agree with Stormy, though. If you want to call robbery, uh, I do believe he could have stepped on the gas just a little bit more. Just a little more. Them last rounds were too clear in favor of Lomachenko. Uh, but the post fight, Devin Haney, after all the people saying, making it seem like Devin Haney was going to duck Lomachenko, Devin Haney pulled to the Lomachenko fight. Not only did he pull up to the Lomachenko fight, but Devin Haney has always shown to be have that Earl Spence sense of awareness where he has his ear to the streets. So when people were saying he looked weight drained and looked gaunt and all of this, that, and the third, he showed up in the flyest sweater you could find. Fuck a Bill Cosby sweater. He had the let's call it the Skeletor sweater. He had a sweater with the skeleton, shining skeleton on it, and he had matching shades to go with it. Uh, and that was essentially a fu to the people who were criticizing the way he looked on the scale. Um, it's funny because he was gaunt and skinny, and he was nothing. Oh, how did I leave that out? You're absolutely right, PGH Big Dog. That was the one thing that I felt was absolute bullshit, was the 117-111 scorecard. That just showed the agenda for Lomachenko, and this is also a replay friendly live. So for the people who watch this later down the line, they must know, like, the judging in Lomachenko fights are suspect, but this was it. What made it um, valid for people to yell robbery was the 117-111 card. Um, there's no way Lomachenko won as many rounds as that equates to, and even his cut man and corner man was saying 9-3 or 8-4. I'm like, what in what fight? Like, in what fight? In the Luke Campbell fight? Because we're talking about the fight that just occurred against Jermaine Jackson. It's like, no, Jermaine Ortiz. So yeah, that that was an atrocity, and we need an investigation into these judges. We need an investigation into these judges. Black Swan, welcome, welcome, welcome. We just finishing up. Definitely take it back to the top. I appreciate you stopping by. Welcome to Boxing and Breakfast, aka Breakfast with the Champ. Have a little bit of battle with your breakfast and pull up to the table. Um, yeah. So, lastly, on that fight of the night, aside of Rabisi Ramirez and Tiger Johnson still in the night, was Devin Haney stealing all of the light in the night from everybody. He pulled up on Lomachenko. He hopped in the ring afterwards. Uh, Lomachenko's immediate reaction is heavyweight, lightweight. This is a heavyweight. This is a heavyweight. So it made it kind of a contradiction of the the viewing that people had of Devin Haney. They viewed him uh, not necessarily a contradiction, because it's basically saying for him to look drained, he looks too big for the weight class. But Lomachenko looked at him as if he was a fucking giant, as if he had to go fight, uh, Atlas himself. Um, the 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 humor of it all was the fact that Devin Haney was the one chasing Lomachenko this whole time, and for Lomachenko to be chasing the belts and has been saying he needs the belts, and they're emphasizing uh, his desire and emphasizing his route to the belts. When Devin Haney hopped in the ring, pulled up on him, ran down on him, and popped up on the commentators amidst them saying some BS, had them all shook, had them all a little nervous. They didn't even know how to react. They had to literally give him a mic with an entirely different interviewer, which turned out to be Bernardo Osuna, I believe, um, because Devin Haney pull up game too crazy. But it was funny that he pulled up on Loma after Loma was the one calling him out. He face to face with Loma, and Loma give that nervous energy. He's smiling, he looking away, and even then he said he needed uh, to recover and needed another tune-up, if I'm not mistaken. 1 second, guys. After I heard Loma say that, now I want Devin to drop the titles and move up for his next fight. Screw Loma. I agree 1,000%, Ashley. I'm looking at that and I'm just like, so you think you're gonna try to stall, uh, are you gonna try to stall Devin out by getting another tune-up, or are you gonna try to stall Devin out by extending your recovery process and say you got injured in this fight or some nut shit like that? Like, what are we doing right now? You said you're back for the titles. You came back. The first thing you talking about is undisputed, and you give nothing but nervous energy for Devin Haney. And then when Devin Haney walk off because you're not giving no direct answers of yeah, I fight you next, and you literally got the commentators leading him. So you'll accept anything, right? You'll accept anything. All of a sudden he gets confused on what questions are being asked of him. Devin Haney get up out of there like, man, this that bullshit. I can smell it on him. I can smell a duck. So he get up out of there. He start giving that nervous laugh, and just is stuck on stupid standing there. So I'm like, I don't know, man. I wasn't looking forward to the card. There was nothing to check for. Odd fella, your favorite yet your most hated. Odd fella, welcome to Breakfast and Boxing. We about to get up boxing and breakfast. Excuse me. We about to get up out of here, but aka Breakfast with the Champ. Pull up, have a little bit of battle with your breakfast. I appreciate your support. I appreciate you stopping by, bro. I would take it back to the top of live. I'm literally about to wrap up my last point on Loma and then dive into this commercial before I get up out of here. But thank you again for stopping by. And I highly suggest jumping back to the top. You know, it's a replay friendly live. But yeah, so I guess if I had to wrap up my last point on Lomachenko and kind of summarize it, um, in my mind, to be honest, like there was an injustice done. No, just the truth. There was an injustice done to Jermaine Ortiz. I think he could have stepped on the gas a little bit more, but I do think he won. The injustice was the difference in the scorecards. They did that kid wrong, all the way wrong. Um, I didn't really care for the fight. It was hard to really focus on the fight, having no vested interest. Um, Devin Haney pull up game is too crazy. He pulled up on the commentators and Lomachenko, and both parties had a completely different energy than they had before. Um, there was also no clinch counter. I noticed that in this fight, um, and there was a very biased ref in there as well. But no offense, fuck that fight, to be honest. The prospects is all I really cared about for that card. And I love y'all. I appreciate y'all stopping by. And in closing, support, follow, subscribe, uh, everything. LDBC, Trilitary, TWT, the Simple Truth Network. Check out my two channels, HFO Church, Right TV. Support my OGs, my OG Kano Local, that's OG Local to me. My OG K Hope, that's Black Fight Fan. Support the usual suspects. ShopUsualSuspect6.com. Support each and every individual usual suspect, and also check out my OG Locos gear up on ShopUsualSuspect6.com, and support my little brother Black Sun. That's the 9-4 Sun God. There are three ways to support this channel, family. You can go to ShopUsualSuspect6.com, and you can grab your combat tool bag gear and some merch there. That's ShopUsualSuspect6.com. ShopUsualSuspect6.com. You could also check out the Hustle God series and purchase a book. We have on Amazon.com. You can type in Hustle God series. You can type in Michelangelo Turner. You can go to the description of this video after this live. It'll be in the description. And you'll find a series of books. Hustle God, Art of the Hustle. Um, Hustle God's Afro Gold Part 1. Hustle God Masterpiece, Daily Golden Mind Molding, and Language of the 1%, Hustle God's Linguistics of Money. And lastly, the last way of supporting this channel is you can sponsor a creator, you can sponsor a fighter by donating to this channel. Cashtag Hustle God Inc. That's the money sign, Hustle God Inc. All one word, just like it's spelled. And that's how you can support the journey and support the process and build it here. Uh, Opulent LD, I appreciate you stopping by. Welcome. I take it back to the top. It's a replay friendly live. We just getting up out of here. But again, those are the three ways to support the channel. Much love. Links to all three will be in the description. Until Wednesday, guys. Love y'all. LDBC only. It's a cool black affair. Till next time. Deuces.